Okay, hello everyone, welcome to another video. Oh my god, it's not STO, it's Warframe. Now then, I'm gonna be honest, it's mostly for fleet mates, clan mates, whatever. Anyone that's interested or stumbles upon the video, fair enough. Now then, this is mostly aimed towards new players. However, you higher end fellas out there and lasses, there might be something in here for you too, you never know. So, getting straight into it. For our examples today, we're going to be using Ash Prime, Raktasenos, Prisma Twin Gremlins, and a Zor built on Cetus with parts that, quite frankly, I can't even remember. But effectively, this is a Nikana type weapon. So, let's start with the Ash. Now, my Ash is most definitely endgame capable. I've taken this up against enemies in the high 2000s with no issue whatsoever. This follows a few simple rules. So rule number one, you've got to be able to survive with your frame against whatever level content you come across. Not all frames necessarily have to worry about this. If you're working in a team, doing nanny runs, doing a specific purpose, whatever, fair enough. Solo gameplay or just randomly pick up and go groups with anybody that you come across, you know, this is the kind of principle you want to be going with, and certainly how you want to be starting. So for survivability, we're going with vitality, because health, thanks to the 150 armor we've got here, means we've got some level of damage reduction. Some people like to go with, for instance, redirection with Ash. Personally, I think that's an absolutely terrible idea, because redirection does not benefit from armor very well at all. So vitality with 150 armor means we've got some level of survivability just as the frame in itself. We've then got some abilities over here. We're not really focusing on, but can use, Blade Storm, and we're not really focusing on teleport in any way whatsoever other than utility to move across the map. What we are building this for is Shuriken and Smoke Screen, because these are the two strongest abilities for what we need our Ash for. This is an assassin. Go in there, survive any level enemies, because frankly you're invisible, and be able to kill any level enemies thanks to this one little mod over here. Seeking Shuriken will allow you to reduce the armor of a target by, with 45% additional power strength, 101%. As you can see at the bottom there, it says armor reduction 101%. We're achieving this with just one mod, and that's why this is here, and that's why it's rank 8, because we don't want to take too much of a hit to our duration over here. So we've got 45% ability strength on this, with not too much of a negative. By the way, corrupted mods always have a positive in extreme values and a negative at around about half of that value. In Narrow-Minded's case, obviously it's a little bit more than half, and the same for Blind Rage. So we've got Narrow-Minded and Prime Continuity here for as much duration as we can squeeze in for the polarity we've got at hand for our Shuriken and Smoke Screen. Transient Fortitude to make sure our Seeking Shuriken augment hits 100%, which is what we want for this build. Streamline, because frankly if you're spamming Seeking Shuriken you will run out of energy, you will not be able to put your Smoke Screen down, and you will die. Rolling Guard is for when our cloak runs out. This gives us a certain amount of invulnerability, so that when we're coming up to the last second we can roll, recast our Smoke Screen, and then we're good. Carry about a business for just under 20 seconds. Fucking great. Steel Charge, because when you've removed armor, oh dear god, melee weapons with, you know, a couple of bits and pieces I'm going to show you in a minute, once you've removed their armor, is just outstanding. Not to mention this means we only need to put, in this case, 2 of armor into this particular build. Vigilante Pursuit, high-end missions, if your companion or whatever dies or consistently dies, having this will mean you will still be able to see your enemies, not to mention primary weapons get this set bonus which we've got here, which is very nice. The arcanes, as nice as they are, don't really matter. You don't have to have them, don't worry about it. But this is how we would build, for instance, an endgame Ash, or at least one version of it. Now, so to move on to the melee thing, we've got here a custom little Nikana. Now, this one I'm not finished. Frankly, I need to put another couple of armor in here. I've only got one in so far, and that is the wrong arcane, but there we go. Arcanes, by the way, can only, in terms of melee weapons, can only be put into Zors, so just bear that in mind. Or rather, the custom-made melee weapons. So for here, we're focusing on the strengths of the weapon in itself. We've got pressure point, which is pretty much standard. You kind of must have this for all melee weapons ever. Nice elemental combo. Because this is a primarily slash-based weapon, we want to get viral going, so that when the slash procs do hit, there should hopefully already be the status of viral, which reduces the maximum HP by 50%. Fucking great, that's what we want. Prime reach, because this is a short range weapon. Putting this on gives us a 5.5 meter range, allowing our combo counter to stack up really high and hit many things in a nice big radius. Drifting combat to keep the combo count high, because, you know, the duration, and a little bit of status chance to help with the purpose of the viral procs. Berserkers is there explicitly just to make us nice and fast. Blood Rush is to take the critical chance from, you know, your 27% to, by the time you've combined Drifting Contact, Berserker and Prime Reach, and you've stacked up a really high combo count. We'll be doing Red Crisp with this eventually, which is great, and Red Crisp just means more damage. Now, as a little example of this, another benefit to this being viral means that if it's on enemies that do not have armor, so we're just going to spawn some, actually let's go with really high level. So we're just going to spawn a bunch of these. We've got them on pause AI for the purpose of this video. So the first unit we've got up at the front here, we're not going to strip their armor, so we're just going to show the power of viral and slash. These are level 165, and if you, like with my bow, which I'll show you in a moment, without reducing the armor, viral does absolutely nothing. You know, we're talking minimal amounts of damage. Absolutely terrible. Now with the melee weapon, obviously, we're looking to apply viral procs and slash procs. And the power of slash means that even though these are insanely high level, they will effectively still be getting mowed down and cut to pieces anyway. So you see this random little damage over times? That's your slash procs. The more we hit them, the more they're going to apply. And as much as this is relatively quick, it can be done quicker with other weapons. This is mostly for once the armor has been reduced. So we've got a nice little squad of 6 over here. And we're going to use our Seeking Shuriken that we spoke about earlier on the Ash build. And we've removed all their armor. You can tell that by the fact that their health bar up here is no longer your yellow / orange, depending on your contrast in your TV. It's now red. This means they've got no armor, or at least until the ability runs out. Anyway, these ones, once we take away their armor, they die very fast, and the viral and slash then literally just rips them to pieces in seconds. So even with an incomplete melee build, you know, we're still achieving exactly what we wanted to. So we've got a nice little bit of synergy over there, and that ultimately is what Warframe's all about. Getting that synergy, finding things that work together, and unfortunately your playstyle does come into effect to some degree. Easiest answer when it comes to how to build basic, advanced, endgame, whatever, look at a YouTube video. Find somebody's endgame build, and that's fine. But if you don't know how to tweak that and change it to what you need to do, then it's no frickin' good to you. So, like for instance, a lot of people may say, why the hell have you got Streamline in there? You know, why have you got Transient Fortitude? You could run, for instance, Intensify, and there's a drift mod in the Exilus slot called Power Drift that you could put on, achieve the same thing without any negative to the duration. Okay, yeah, that's great, but this is my personal style. I like to have that enemy radar there, and I do swap between my primary, secondary, and melee weapon all the time, and this is just mostly for me, how I want it to do. But while still sticking with the basic principles. Now, if we then look at a more advanced weapon per se, the Rakta Sonos, this is a crit based weapon with a very good fire rate. So charge rate for bows is basically your fire rate, and the reload is also very good. So it's a very fast weapon, meaning we don't need to worry about things like, you know, speed trigger or vial acceleration to increase the fire rate, because it's already as fast as we're ever going to need it, which is great because it means we can just focus on damage, and that's what we're doing here. So it's a crit based weapon with a good amount of damage that has a good amount of fire rate. Now, granted, this, you know, from the outside sounds like a perfect weapon. It's not, but it might sound like it. So we're going to utilize the strengths. Serration is your base damage, must have. Multi-shot is effectively base damage. You must have multi-shot in every weapon ever. Well, except for the Steinhardt Similar and a couple other examples. But anyway, it's a crit-based weapon, so we'll have Point Strike and Vital Sense. These are necessary. If you don't have them, Wikipedia and that shit, farm them. Hammer Shot is just a nightmare mod for more critical damage. There are other things you can put in here, but you know, I like Hammer Shot. And then we've got Viral. The reason we've got Viral is, even though this is a fast weapon with a good amount of crit, its status is utter garbage. So running something like, for instance, Corrosive, now we could run a Corrosive build, and I do for low level content, but if I take this against level 165 gunners, it's not going to do anything. Whereas if I can remove the armor and focus on the strength of the weapon, like we have here, granted we do have a Riven, it's not really necessary. I mean, honestly, you can just put a heavy caliber or something else in there and it'll do fine. This isn't designed for using something like Corrosive. It's not got a good status chance, it's not going to be able to complete the remove the armor of an enemy, so you may as well just focus on it. So Viral, of course, does nothing. Strip the armor, bam, guaranteed one shot. Whereas if we try and focus on, let's say for instance you don't have a frame that can reduce armor, okay, fair enough, right, yeah, cool. So we're going to go back to Corrosive, which is Corrupted Heavy Gunner's weakness. Most things are corrosive, by the way. Grenier, Infested, Corrupted, Corrosive, good. There's the odd few enemies within that have a different armor type, and of course you won't do as much damage against them, but for the vast majority, Corrosive is good. If you're fighting Corpus, however, Corrosive is not good. Okay, so we've got nice, fast, decent amount of speed, but it's taken us a fair amount of shots to take it out. And bearing in mind, this is a 5-former build with a Catalyst, with a God Roll Riven. Well, mostly God Roll Riven. And it's still taking this many shots. Now, annoyingly, when you, for instance, say, okay, I've got a nice little bug there, that's interesting. When you remove the armor, yes, we can still do a decent amount of damage, but orange crits are only hitting 360. So you see there, we got 184k, didn't kill it, whereas the Viral one did. This is the importance of putting the right element on your weapons against the right target. So as you can see, Corrosive, just not a good idea for this kind of weapon. So you always need to bear in mind what your weapon's capable of, what its strengths are, what kind of elemental combination you're going to put with it, and effectively go from there, build something that's coming for you. So this is something we literally slapped together in about 3.4 seconds flat. Prisma Twin Gremlins, yeah, alright. So this is for Corpus. So what we've got in here, this is taking into account somebody who's got like basically nothing, no mods, whatever. But you will have your elemental mods most likely, and you'll also have your base damage mod for your Hornet Strike, for instance. You've got millions of these things. But we want to be able to fight Corpus. Now that might be a little bit of an issue, because Corpus, you got to bear in mind your corrosive stuff that you just put on all your other equipment, or your barrel stuff, whatever, might not work against them. We're just going to reduce this down. Take this out to, I don't know, maybe level 30. You're not going to see any higher than level 30 enemies, generally speaking, in normal kind of gameplay. So let's have Carrier, and then Anti-Mower. I mean, it is robotic, so yeah, we'll go with that. So the reason we have Radiation and Toxin is because when it comes to Corpus, the robotic, so this thing here, is weak to radiation. And we took him out without honestly any issues at all, really. And then this guy here is weak to toxin because he's Corpus. So even with practically no mods on this weapon whatsoever, no former, no potato, no nothing, basic bitch garbage nothing build, still capable of taking our level 30s because we have the right things on here. Now realistically speaking, we'd probably want to take that off, maybe put some crit chance, crit severity on here, even in low kind of values, so maybe a flawed pistol gambit, and what have we got? We got some target cracker over here. There you go, and we've got some crit chance, crit severity. We're going to do fine. And even then, to be honest, we've probably still got enough space to put basic Hornet Strike in there, so we're going to do fine. And radiation will still work against Corpus without toxin, or toxin will work, or gas will work, you know. Gas, toxin, radiation, toxin will all work against Corpus quite nicely. So that's the first video on how to build your ship effectively. This is the basic principles of it and how it should look like to some degree in practice. Now obviously personal preference, how you like to play, what you've got available to you, all of this stuff comes into account, but this hopefully should give you a decent start for 10. Anyway, that's all from me in this video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.